Alright, so now let's talk about Kiwi coiling when you're setting up for glacier travel. This is much more widely used among mountaineers, and it's fundamentally the same as Kiwi coiling for rock setup that I showed you before, but it is a bit different. The main thing is the length of distance between you and your other climbers is going to be wider for obvious reasons with crevasses and whatnot. And then your personal setup may also be a bit different too. One of them is going to be very similar to the rock system with at least one major difference, and then the other one will be very different from the rock setup, probably something some of you are a little more familiar with, but really helps out with glacier traveling. So I'm going to talk about setting up the rope for a group of 3 on the glacier. And so that involves 2 people on the ends of the rope and 1 person in the middle. Person in the middle doesn't have any coils on him, and then the 2 on the ends will have coils. So it all starts with your rope. The rope length that you use on a glacier is going to vary, and that depends on the route. A lot of times when you're just mountaineering on non-technical routes, a 30 or a 40 meter rope is really the best. 40 or 50 meter, sometimes a 30 is actually a bit better, but that's usually used more in ski mountaineering sort of setup. But a 40, 50 meter rope, even a 35 would be good for 2 people. 40 would be good for 3, and when you get into more technical routes, then a 60 meter, you may just need a 60 meter for the actual technical aspect of the route. So length of rope really varies quite a bit. I could go on a little bit more or a lot more about rope lengths depending on different setups, but generally speaking, you'll know what you need for the route. So I got a 60 meter here because that's just what I have at the moment, so that's what I'm going to demonstrate on. First thing I did is I found the middle of my rope. I did this by flaking both ends. You could have it marked or have it have a bi-pattern rope like I do here. And what I did is I just put an overhand knot. You can put a figure 8 or an alpine butterfly, it doesn't matter what knot you use, just throw a knot in here. This is going to be where the middle person clips into. As for distance between climbers, there's a couple of different thought processes on how much length you should put in between climbers, and it does depend on where you are. Places in the lower 48 you can have less distance compared to like Canada in the Rockies, and Alaska you need generally a lot of distance between climbers because of how big the crevasses and the glaciers are. So it's usually the distance of climbers is in some sort of ratio to how big the glaciers and crevasses are. In the lower 48, AMGA has this nice little mnemonic that they use where it's depending on how many people you have on your team, which in this case is 3, you take that number and subtract it from 10. And then that's the amount of arm lengths you should put between you and your friends. So if I have 3 people, 10 minus 3 is 7. So I'm going to have 7 arm lengths between me and my friends. And that seems to be a good amount to go with. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start at my knot, put that in my hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. I was about to go further. And it is rough math. So if my arm span is about 5 feet or so, so that puts me at 35 feet between my my folks. May want to do more, may want to do less. It's all just rough math, you know. You don't need exact science on the glacier. So now I have my end marked which is equidistant between the knot and the middle, and I'm going to put marker knots here. So I'm just going to tie overhand knots. They're just marking the place for me. So now I have a lot of extra rope when I go past the knots, and that is going to be my my security coils for if my friend falls into a crevasse and I have to pull him out. So I'm going to flake to the end of this one. There are 2 ways how people usually store these coils. One is on your body and the other one's in your backpack. And so I'm going to talk about backpack first. What I'm going to do is take maybe a foot on this side and a foot on the other side. Again, rough math. And I'm just going to do little lap coils like this. And I'm going to go through the entire stack, coiling up the rope. Until I get to my knot. Now I want a bit of space here. This is a good amount. This is maybe like about 5 feet between my lap coils and my knot. So now I'm going to take my lap coils and twist the end around. About 3 times is all you really need. So that way it's like a normal coil. And then take this end, pass it through the eye of the coil, and bring it back around the top. If I pull that tight, it keeps everything normal and in order. Now this is actually a bit short, but I can actually shorten it up a bit. If I take that marker knot out, and then I'll have enough. I'm going to take whatever backpack I happen to have with me and throw the coils in either through the hood or on top, or in this case it's a zipper. Go throw that on my back. I'm going to find the rope that's going down from my backpack. Then here, I'm going to take like a small locking carabiner, and I'm going to tie another knot. Overhand, figure 8, butterfly, doesn't matter. Overhand or figure 8 on a bite. And I just lock that to my harness. And then now, if my buddy falls in, I catch them with my actual harness and not from my backpack. And if they do fall in, I can easily actually access the coils from my backpack. Now there are some other steps that people will do here, like putting prussics on or whatever. I'm going to cover that in a later video. For now, I'm just talking about how you store the rope. Mainly because I have limited daylight right now. Alright, so that's one way to deal with the rope. The next way, if I go to the other end of the rope, here I'm going to quickly flake this out. There you go. So the next way involves putting the coils on your body. So that's going to start with tying in, the same way how you would always tie in. This days in the USA, it's most popular tying with a figure 8 follow through. There we go, so I'm tied in. And just like in the rock coiling, I'm going to start with this off to my side, and then bring this down over my shoulder, find my correct height, and start coiling over my shoulder. I have less to do this time. Alright, so I made it to my knot now. This is again just a marker knot. So I can actually take this out, and now I know I'm at the right distance to tie off my coils. So again, I'm going to pass my left arm through, make sure that this is nice and tight, pass this end through my belay loop, or my or my knot loop, go underneath everything, and I'm going to tie off my coils the exact same way as before. Now again, some people will just stop like this, and this is considered perfectly fine to travel on a glacier with. The benefit of stopping here is if you do fall in and you tie this off correctly, this will cinch up, and then the rope will act as a chest harness while you're also sitting on your normal your climbing harness, which is actually pretty nice. But it's really a big problem if your buddy falls in and now you're holding them from your shoulders. So it's pretty important to take more rope and add in another knot, figure 8, butterfly, overhand, whatever you want, and then clip that into your harness. This way, if someone else falls in, you have the weight going onto your harness. And I'm pretty finicky about this. I'll actually keep on adjusting it until I have it just the way I like it. So that way the weight is going onto my harness. And notice how I'm pulling down, because that's how you're going to catch them. You're not going to catch them going up. You're going to catch them going down. So that is something to watch out for. But this is the other way. If you had a backpack, one thing you can do is actually slot these off, put the backpack on, and then just slot them back on again. Yeah, you may have to retie it every now and again just to keep it all together, but you can do some tricks like that. If you have to take your backpack off, the same exact way would work. And it's just a clean, efficient way to carry coils. And notice how I don't really have that much of the rope on me. That's because I need a lot of rope between my friends in order for them to stay safe if they fall in a crevasse. So again, there is more to crevasse travel and rescue than this. I'm gonna try to make more videos in the future, but this is just the basics of how to store your rope while traveling on a glacier, or even just through small sections of easy rock climbing, so that way to get to the good stuff. If you have any questions, feel free to comment. If you have anything you want to add, you can also comment on that. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.